El Dorado High School, home of the Eagles. All right, I guess just to get things, the ball rolling or whatever, I came up here, up the stairs from the parking lot to the main office. I can remember a handful of times where I was in trouble. One of the particular occasions that I was in trouble in here was, maybe you'll remember if you came up during my same time, but back in the 90s, over at the flea market and around town, they used to sell these t-shirts that had like big pot leaves and all that kind of good stuff on them. And it would say kind of catchphrases like legalize it and all kinds of different things. Teacher, I guess she wasn't too happy that I had worn that shirt to school one day and dragged me into the office almost by my ear and set me down in the chair and walked right over to the secretary and said, "This kid is in special ed." And she was just really, really upset and couldn't get past her anger. Kind of hurt my feelings at the time, and I told one of the teachers over here what happened, and they couldn't believe that the teacher had reacted that way. But I guess it was kind of dumb what I did, but whatever. Did I mention that my daughters are over here today? It's another one of those lucky days for me. And I'm over here with my daughter Carly and my daughter Amy again. So my daughter Carly actually went to school over here for a little while.
I didn't go here for like a really long time. I went here for just maybe like a year or something like that. But I was in ROTC, and that was pretty cool because I was really good at it. But I think that was my favorite part about it.
So Amy and Carly almost would have been rivals. Would have been Eagles against Lions.
Yeah.
But then they ended up going to the same school, so pretty cool. I'm pretty excited to be back over here. It's kind of cool. I came out here a couple of days ago and scouted a couple of the different areas, and now I'm getting to film some of those spots and talk all about it. But I'm pretty excited to be here.
I'm really excited to be here too. I think it's really interesting going back and just looking at all the stuff that, you know, just seeing things that I was doing before and remembering times that I had with people that I don't really talk to anymore. So pretty cool to think about.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to be here. I didn't go to El Dorado, so seeing this stuff is new to me. So yeah, I'm excited.
A lot of new things to look at, a lot of old things to look at, but should be an adventure on the way. Okay, so like right over here in this area, I remember I got in a big fight, man, and some kid picked a fight with me, and it wasn't going to be a problem because I knew that I could take him, and I came outside here to get down or whatever in the fight, and his buddy like came up beside me when we were getting ready to brawl and like sucker punched me right in the jaw and knocked me down to the ground and just about broke my jaw off. But it was kind of, after that I was a real popular guy for like losing a big old fight, but I was kind of the victim of a lot of ridicule during that time. Just an awkward teenager, as the story goes.
Check out the cafeteria in here. It is way smaller than Monzano's cafeteria.
Yeah, I kind of, just to think about it, I know what you're talking about.
I used to eat lunch in here all the time, and I remember I was like the only one who would eat lunch in here. Everybody else would get stuff from the food carts outside, but I always really liked eating hamburgers and stuff, which now it doesn't sound so appetizing, but...
See if I could get a better shot in there. I'm gonna press up against the glass a little bit. Yeah, I remember that cafeteria for sure now. They got those round tables. When I was a kid, they used to have Dunkin' Donuts for breakfast. That was like the big breakfast over here. Then later on, you could buy Taco Bell specialty items. Which, well, by specialty, I mean bean burritos. But there it is. Carly just told me that she had her first boyfriend over here when she was going to the school back in the day.
That's true.
And he was a senior?
Yeah.
And you were a freshman?
Yeah.
That's funny. That must be like a family thing too, because when I was a freshman, I went out with the senior. It's kind of funny.
Just too mature for our age, right?
Right? We were just so mature. There's another look inside the cafeteria. Looks roughly the same from when I was over here. It's got the same geometry. Those windows look a little bit different. I don't remember them having so many, but maybe they did. I don't know for sure. That's pretty interesting.
The parking lot's a lot smaller than the one at Manzano because Manzano has Wilson Stadium, so I kind of feel like this parking lot's a little smaller.
Yeah. A lot of memories for me in that parking lot. I used to walk right out there every day. My girlfriend had like a 1974 or 75 something Celica that was beat up on all four sides, on the top and each corner, and we used to beat the heck out of that car. It would backfire every time that we pulled up. Kaboom! Something else. But it was kind of embarrassing then, but now I'm laughing about it, I guess. There's a lesson for you kids out there. You know, you might be embarrassed about it now, but you'll laugh about it later. It's the George B. Nason Performing Arts Center. Back when I was a kid, I watched a really great production of The Taming of the Shrew by William Shakespeare here. That was around 1992 or 93, probably around 92 or something. There was a kid that was in that production that was also in the El Dorado talent show. And he looked everything that like a rock star. You know, he had like really long hair and played the guitar and sang and did everything. And we watched him perform over at the El Dorado gym across the way over here. And he did some Pearl Jam and just really rocked out the guitar leads. It was really something else. That kid had a lot of talent. I think he was a senior at the time that I was like a freshman or whatever, so I didn't really know him. But if anybody remembers who that kid was, shout out to that kid, I guess. But he was just really amazing. He really rocked out that show. Something else. So this area is where the students used to congregate for lunch. Right over there in that area is the El Dorado Gymnasium. Interesting story about that place. When I was a kid, I was going out with a senior in high school when I was a freshman, and we had some mutual friends and so on. So I got to be friends with a lot of folks that were like seniors, even though I was a freshman. So that was kind of neat. But one of the kids that we knew decided that for a senior prank, he was going to put some slides. You know, there was a senior slideshow, and he was going to take out some of the slides and replace them with a slide from like the couple slides from the like Hustler magazine. So you can imagine how funny that was going to kind of be. But we all kind of knew that it was going to happen, and we were just anxiously awaiting throughout the whole slideshow. And then we kind of thought that maybe it chickened out or something, and because it didn't seem to come. And there towards the end, right as they were playing like Skid Row, I Remember You over the slideshow, Pam, they popped right on there. And at first people were giggling and laughing, and then just in shock at what they'd seen, because don't forget that like 99% of the people in attendance for the thing didn't know that that was going to happen. And then when it did happen, the principal didn't understand what was going on, looked behind him in time for the slide to change to like a normal slide. And then by the time that he had come back and looked again when people were laughing, he got to see, a full eyeful of what was going on. And he turned to the entire gymnasium and screamed at everybody to get out. And everybody just cleared the whole gymnasium just fast. So those of us that got to see what happened are kind of fortunate to have seen it, because it was kind of the stuff that school prank legends are made out of. It's something else. So over here in this little area, it's kind of a downstairs area for the El Dorado office. And I was in here more than a few times, I guess, down in this little area next to the staircase, because I got in trouble a few different times. Oh, the humanity. Humanities. What you got there is your El Dorado Courtyard. A lot of lunches spent over there. They actually filmed a lot of movies over here, I think. I know they filmed some stuff over here. We'll talk about that.
Pretty popular.
They filmed something pretty popular to Albuquerque over here. And we're going to get around to that area directly. But, yeah, pretty interesting. What do you remember about over here, Carly, in this courtyard?
Well, I was telling my sister, one time I was sitting right over there for lunch with a couple of my friends. This was the first year that I went here, and we heard somebody screaming, and we looked over, and somebody jumped right from the wall that we're sitting on, which is pretty high if you look down.
No kidding. Let's see if we can look down a little bit.
And he landed on this concrete, and he broke his arm.
Yeah, that's a good, like, 15, 16, 17, 18 feet down. I don't know what. I don't have a tape measure, but I wouldn't want to fall from here, that's for sure.
It was pretty scary, but, like, at the same time, it was kind of funny.
Yeah. I know I used to like to come over here and just chill and like eat my lunch over here on that little portion. The one that looks down from here, that's like right there. And but I remember the teachers didn't allow for it. They said, get down from there. When I was a kid anyway. That's kind of, they were just not minding their own business. All right. It seems like there's some kind of prehistoric bird talons on the ground. We're gonna follow those and maybe see where they go. It's kind of interesting. I didn't even notice that the last time that I was out here. Wonder if those have been here always. It's kind of interesting. Uh-oh. Oh, they ended right here. This must be the point where the eagle flew away. Darn it. So here's the lecture hall. It's kind of a neat little thing that they have in here. It's kind of hidden away. I didn't get to go in here too often, but there was one instance when I went in here and they had a lecture that was from a Nazi camp survivor, a Jewish man that came and talked about being inside of a Nazi concentration camp and the hard time that he had there and the loss of his family members. It was a really heartbreaking story. And at that time when I was a kid, it kind of taught me about some of the evil things that happen in this world. Back in the day when this was always kind of the lecture hall, but it didn't have that, big entrance. It didn't have those double doors. It was just a little single door that went into there. So you would have never even really known what was in there. And then maybe it said lecture hall, in tiny print above the door or something. It was kind of, there was no production about it or whatever. It was just kind of there. But once you were in there, it was kind of an interesting thing, a little lecture hall kind of setting or whatever. Be neat to come back and visit that one day if I ever get the graces of the school or whatever. Did you ever go to anything over here, Carly? In this lecture hall? Or
I remember my math class, we got the opportunity to go in there and watch a movie. I think it was during one of the half days we were having because of testing, and I saw The Outsiders in here for the first time.
That's one of my favorite movies.
It was pretty cool. Nobody else was really watching it, but I did.
Yeah.
Really cool.
I saw that movie when I was a kid here in Albuquerque too, but I went to another school. I think it was when I went to like maybe Chelwood or something.
Oh yeah.
Back in the day. But stay golden, pony boy. I remember a bunch of kids tried to dye their hair with peroxide like they did in that movie. It's kind of weird. I tried to do that too, but it didn't work for some reason because you needed something more than hydrogen peroxide, the little bottle, you needed the actual, like, more powerful stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I think girls have been doing that recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've seen a lot
there?
of videos of them trying to dye their hair with peroxide, just the tips of them or something.
Yeah. History goes around and comes around. It repeats itself. There's Amy running away from the camera. She can't get away. She can't get away. What do you think about this school compared to the other high school?
It's a lot bigger, for sure.
You think it's bigger?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of bigger in a way, huh?
Yeah.
But just in the way that it's kind of more spread out. I don't know if they have more stuff, but it seems just maybe like they're a little bit more spread out or
It
something.
seems like they have like bigger buildings and stuff. And the area out there is a lot bigger. I know Manzano has a big area too, but
Yeah.
I don't know. El Dorado seems bigger, but it's probably because Manzano has Wilson Stadium.
Yeah, then Manzano has that big Wilson Stadium.
Yeah.
They got kind of a lot of cool facilities over there. They got some cool facilities, like little sport fields that are kind of here now. But when I was a kid, they didn't really have the sports facilities that Manzano had. It seemed like they had them beat there. They had like a soccer field and a couple softball fields and the football field. And then, of course, the Wilson Stadium's back there. So I guess the schools have amply as much going on. It's just kind of in different proportions or something. I don't know. Yeah, did you have any like memorable teachers that were over here?
Yeah, when I first started, I had just come from homeschool from middle school, and I didn't really know that many people, and so I spent a lot of time in this library, and it was pretty funny. It was the librarian who worked here actually became like one of my best friends, at least to me at the time, and we would hang out, and she would like recommend me books all the time, and I used to ditch a lot, which my parents know, but she would like let me ditch in there all the time, and we would just hang out and talk about a lot of stuff, and she was really nice, and so she made my first year definitely a lot easier. So.
All right, there's another infamous El Dorado staircase. I remember like coming and flying down these things. I don't think I'm going to try it today. Maybe I will, but it might be the last thing I ever do. Kids used to just like glide down those. Whoosh. And I remember I was brave enough to do it. But I remember there was one kid that really used to rock down those and fly down them. And if you didn't watch out, he'd run you over. All right, we're over here at the El Dorado Library now. Back when I was a kid, this library, somebody tried to burn it down. And it was like a big deal. They did burn a portion of it down. And that was during a time that I went to school here. I was kind of a bad kid. I got in trouble for a few different things, so, to say the least. But I went to community service a couple of times, and actually I did community service with one of the kids that was, an accomplice in, like, lighting the library on fire, and that's what he was doing community service for, keep him from going to juvie, as it were. Looks like they made it a little more modernized. Pretty sure that's a new kind of thing since my day over here.
Yeah, they had them when I was here.
They did?
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
I remember my friends and me would sit on these steps and eat lunch and stuff.
It looked like they got a fair amount of age to them. They're just not quite as old as I am. Okay, so we're coming up here to some more legendary stairs. These ones were the epic ones that you would really crack your head open if you didn't do things right. But I remember they're even like slicked down or whatever. I see how they're not slicked down. What I mean to say is the paint's not on them, because you could tell that people probably still come flying down here. Pretty interesting. We're getting ready to come up to these stairs into a portion of the school that is probably my favorite part of the school, was up in here. Just over into the other direction over there. There's kind of a look of what that looks like. The reason I'm kind of just staying right here on this little section in here is maybe you can recall walking through there if you went to school here. I don't know. Again, this is a very, very sentimental thing for me, to see kind of areas like that area, and also like this little stairway area over here. And this is the math hall. I don't know if it was the math hall when I was here, if that kind of stuff remained the same. Pretty interesting to think about, though. I seem to recall this trash can being here. Just kidding. It's the very same trash can. Look at the contents of the garbage can.
Looks like it could be.
Look, there's a classic cherry Coke can from the 90s. It is the same can. No, I'm just kidding. That's not right. This building has an interesting name to it now. They call it the Career and Technical Education Academy.
That's not what it used to be.
Yeah, was that called that when you were here? Yeah, so that's kind of a new development. But you know what? This school has always been really good about like having some kind of career exploration, kind of different things that went on over here.
These were here when I went here. I used to buy a carne asada burrito for $1 every single morning from here. Yeah. I think it was run by DECA. That's what it was.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I knew the guy that was the academic decathlon teacher. I think his name was Mr. Fleming.
Yeah.
Back when I went to school, I think it's Doug Fleming.
Yeah.
And he was the academic decathlon coach, and he was actually my teacher too. All right, now the bell would ring and people would come out for their passing period and rush out of these doors. I remember, it's going to be kind of dark in there or whatever. See how much kind of you can see down in there. But there was a great big mural on the wall back in the day. Gosh, it saddens me to think that it's probably not there anymore. There's kind of an interesting thing made out of tile. It's over there in the shape of an eagle. But for me personally, over here in this building, just beyond those doors over there was a really important time for me. I had this really great teacher named John Chadwell who taught me a lot about working with tools and really helped to mentor me along. And he ended up leaving and taking a position at another school. He opened up himself an antique store called Older Than Dirt, and I remember helping him to make the sign for the store. But really mentored me along and taught me a lot of stuff and kind of took me under his wing when kids were picking on me and all that kind of good stuff. He's just really the model of a great teacher, And I ran into him a few years ago when I worked at Salmon's Plumbing and Electrical and got to talk to him, but just a really great guy. He put me on various projects that he was doing, and I was like one of the only people that, I was probably the only person besides him that was allowed to run the table saw. That was kind of neat. So Carly just remembered this building over here was called the Vocational, and that's actually what it was called when I was a kid too. It was called the Vocational section. But look at that corner. That corner tells a story to me. Maybe if you went here, it tells you the same story. On top of that little concrete thing that's over there, I don't know what those are. There's like these little concrete things on the side over there. I remember kids used to sit down on those. I remember walking through here, there was like I don't know why it just rings really clear for me, but there was like an instance where like Van Halen came to town and they were like on the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge tour. And they had these shirts that were from the concert, and it said on the back, and it said For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge and Van Halen on the top, but it would be like all the beginning of the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge part would be capitalized, so it looked like a dirty word or whatever. So that was pretty interesting. All right, so over there in the area behind me used to be quite a few different things. When I went to school over here, excuse me, there was the first cafeteria was over there where the Starbucks is now. And we used to know some kids that went to school here with the last name Della Longa. they had a pizza shop. The family had a pizza shop back there, which was kind of neat. We used to go eat pizza and stuff over there. But anybody else remember kind of what was going on in this little sort of ridge line that's there behind me before it goes out into Montgomery? Back in my time, we used to call it the Smoker's Gate. And even the teachers who smoked cigarettes used to come out here and smoke cigarettes with the students, because you weren't allowed to smoke on campus. So you would go right outside of there and make your way to the Smoker's Gate. Pretty interesting. But over there just beyond me in that direction used to be an Allsup's gas station that all the students used to go to. Quite a few different things that were there are not there any longer. One of the things that I think is still there is the Great Harvest Bread. A friend of mine and I used to go over there and get a free piece of bread with like butter on it and eat that for lunch and walk around. It was a great experience being a student here during that time. You were allowed to leave for lunch right away when you started, so that was a brand new experience to me coming here as a freshman. And we used to go down to the Wendy's down the road. We used to go to a Schlotzsky's that was right there next to the Allsup's. It's now like a New Mexico Pet Vet Supply. And there was a place called the Burrito Box over there. It was a little small place that you could buy burritos. And then there was a Page One in the corner. That's where I bought the Def Leppard Adrenalize when it first came out. I had bought every Def Leppard album as a kid because I was a Def Leppard nerd. You know, the day that they came out, I bought them and got it on CD. Moved the Page One across the street. They called this place one over here Page One Two, and then they had Page One. It was a neat place, kind of like a Hastings was. You could go in there and actually crack open a CD, and they would play it for you before you bought it, so you could, know if you liked it and everything. Yo, Mr. White. Science. So yeah, over here in this area behind us, you might recognize. Stand out of the way just a little bit so you could get a better look. But it was a place where in Breaking Bad, where a bunch of stuff was missing from the school laboratory, and they had like a PTA meeting all about it and talked about it. And then this is the parking lot where Skylar and Walter hooked up. The other part I think was filmed right here in this parking lot is the part where Walter got fired, and then Jesse comes to meet him to talk to him about selling meth or whatever. And then he drops all of his stuff all over the ground, and you see Jesse's red car drive off with Walter's, contents from his job after being fired are all in, spilt all over the place. I remember when I saw that in the show, I was like, oh yeah, there's El Dorado.
Yeah, right. do it on the short one. It would probably work better.
All right, we're coming around pretty close to wrapping it up over here, but kind of saw this area kind of look interesting. Got a little recycling program happening over here. Definitely a cool thing. Almost looks like kind of like a compost pile. That's kind of a neat thing. Oh, look at this. Oh, this is a really cool thing that I hope is still going on. It's called the Garden Club. How cool is this? That's definitely neat. Like a little greenhouse. Poke my head in there. There's definitely something growing in there. Little hose. It's a cool picture over there. There's definitely some cool stuff. Cool thing going on over here. How cool is this? This looks like food actually growing over here. Huh. It's a pretty neat looking thing happening over here. pretty encouraging thing to see. Little garden happening over here. All right, it's been a pretty awesome day. We got to walk around and see some pretty neat things or whatever. And the camera, or the battery on my phone and camera, it started to die over there, so we had to kind of finish it out on my daughter's phone. So it'll be a pretty interesting contrast. This one's an iPhone 11, so it'll probably look pretty decent or whatever. Mine's an iPhone 8, so it ought to be just like we didn't miss a beat or something, probably, the way the cameras are on these things. We got to see a lot of stuff, and it's pretty interesting. Had one daughter that went to school over here, another daughter that went to school at another place, and I went to school for a little while here. I wanted to shout out some of the teachers that I used to go with over here, and there was a few that had a real impact in my life, and one of them was Miss Kathy Cox, and I haven't seen or heard from her for the longest time since I worked with her at Service Merchandise back in the late 90s. And then another teacher was John Chadwell. Another teacher that was pretty darn cool over here was Miss Daniels. She passed away, I heard, some time ago. There's a memorial for teachers that's up over there that I noticed that, and I wish some of the teachers that I knew that aren't around anymore are kind of still on there. But there was a teacher that worked here, Miss Martinez, worked with Kathy, Miss Kathy Cox. At that time, it's just a really nice teacher to me. People that were just kind. If anything, their kindness made just so much of a difference in my life when I was coming up. A lot of events happened during the time that I was going here. And like the Rodney King incident that happened that sparked the LA riots when I was younger. O.J. Simpson had taken his Bronco and went on a joyride, and Lorena Bobbitt had a problem with her husband back then. There was a 94 outbreak of the measles that happened that kind of scared everybody when I was a kid. I remember that happening. I had a friend that passed away that got beaten and killed. It happened when I was here, and I worked with him at Sonic Drive-In and went to high school with him. And it was kind of weird because I saw him the day after it had happened. If that makes any sense to you, or doesn't make any sense to you, I don't know. But I saw him walking, and we kind of didn't always get along, and we did one of these things to each other, and then he walked off. And I found out the very same day that he had been killed within the day or two before that. So it was really, really weird, but it was definitely him. So, yeah, call me crazy. Not Sergeant, but Major Barker was a real influence on people's life that taught from here and later went to La Cueva. Just a lot of really great teachers, and if I missed anybody that I had, it's probably just because I'm getting old and forgetting about a bunch of stuff, but those are just a couple of the teachers that made a real solid impact on my life. Anyway, the 90s were a heck of a time. A lot of things are different now. Everybody's got a cell phone in their hand. The cell phones weren't even hardly heard of back then. Certainly kids weren't carrying them around. They had Channel 1 News was over here telecasting into classrooms and getting the youth involved in the telecommunications in the country. And it was just a pretty excellent time, I gotta say. So that pretty much does it for this video. I teased the video when I came in and started doing some photography out here. I'm gonna plug a few of those into the video. This is the Smokers Bridge. For anybody who used to be a bad kid like I was and smoke cigarettes, you had to come out here off of the property. The other place was over there, the Smokers Gate. But this is not saying that I condone smoking, because I think it's an awful idea and you shouldn't smoke, especially cigarettes. Because them things will kill you. I've got family and friends that actually died on account of that. So you kids don't smoke, do you? Are you sure about that? Because if you do, I'll find out. Anyway, one last thing that I just wanted to maybe go off a little bit about is it's a pretty scary time out there. A lot of people are very panicked because there's a thing called the coronavirus out there, COVID-19. And it's kind of a scary time to be around people. I've come to the store and people are wearing masks. Some of the shelves are empty and there's a little bit of panic going on. So And we're just fortunate to be out here today. We haven't bumped into a lot of people, not that we're trying to avoid people or anything else. I just wanted to remind everybody to be kind to each other, be friendly to each other, and we'll get through this kind of stuff somehow. These things are a part of history, and hopefully it doesn't affect us in this dramatic way that a lot of people think that is going on or whatever. Hopefully it passes around, and if we learn anything from it, that we learn that we all need to be taking care of each other, because we're all connected in one way or the other. And the more kindness that we have toward each other, the better. And I'll be praying about it, and I'll be praying for each and everybody out there. And I love you very much. All the best for you, and God bless.
Hi, this is Carly reporting from El Dorado High School for Channel 1 News. I'm here seeing if we can find any high school students to talk about some events that are happening. There goes one right now.
Oh, wait, what's
Sir.
going on?
Do you know of any events happening, sir?
Oh, yeah, for sure I do. Van Halen is coming to town.
Oh, yeah?
Guns N' Roses and Metallica, they're going down to Las Cruces, and Def Leppard is coming to Tingley Coliseum.
Wow, you're very informed, sir.
Well, thank you. I'm just
Yeah.
super excited. I brought my fanny pack.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Have a good day.
You got it.